Look at these two laughing like fools. Must have caught a big fish. This is the bluefin tuna of the sea, and it was this 2-meter-long fish in the hands of the second smuggler. It sold for tens of thousands of dollars. If only I could make that kind of money. I'm afraid the smile will be even more complacent. On a new day, Paul returns to the sea. After this time of deliberation, Paul finally realized his mistake. I understand what Doug was doing. Despite the realization, there is still a little unhappiness. But it's human nature. After all, who in the face of sudden difficulties? It keeps you in a good mood. As he arrives at today's fishing spot, he quickly dropped the anchor. Get ready for today's fishing adventure. Now the season is drawing to a close. He had to race against time to catch the tuna. Otherwise, this year's losses will far exceed last year's. The time warp is on its way to the fishing spot. Jack spots a whale ahead. Appear to be foraging. They made a quick decision not to go to Chatham. Avoid burning more fuel. Instead, we set up mackerel bait on the spot. Wait for the tuna to show up. At the moment, they dare not slack off. Because there are 3 teams in hot pursuit. A little neglect can be surpassed. That's when the detector shows fish at 275 feet. At the same time, the fishing rod is slightly bent. It was clear that the tuna had bitten the hook. Nick quickly stepped forward and grasped the pole. After some pulling, Jack moved the rod to the bow. Then Nick officially went into combat. The movement of the hand quickened suddenly. Tuna are also slowly coming to the surface. When Nick noticed the change, the speed has increased significantly. But just then the line snapped. The situation was so unexpected. Watching tuna about to be pulled to the surface. At 11 o'clock, when the guys on the tuna net found out that Jack had lost a fish, Dave and others on the boat were in a good mood. This will give them a chance to compete for first place. And Paul, fishing alone, some sympathy is inevitable. But the sympathy was not deep. After all, his current predicament is his own fault. Then the probe heard movement. Tuna found 80 feet down. The crowd was instantly excited, especially when the rod responds. Sandro quickly pressed forward. A fierce confrontation with the tuna begins. Soon he saw that the fish was playing with the float. This is not the situation they expected. If you have tuna wrapped around a rope, the line has a high risk of breaking. Jody pulled hard on the rope. Sandro, on the other hand, controls the tuna. After solving this problem, so they can keep fighting, based on the feedback from the fishing rod, they determined that there was a big fish under the water, maybe even a shark, scurrying about in the sea. If it is tuna, the hook could get loose. This is not a situation they want to see. Dave's mood suddenly hit rock bottom. Half an hour past fishing time. Sandro felt pressed for time. The hand movements quickened immediately. Never let this tuna escape. The effect was immediate. The tuna finally surfaced. They even kept moving closer to the ship. But the fish was clearly not willing. The intensity of the struggle suddenly increased. The fishing rod vibrated violently. This makes the fight more protracted. But the tuna looks a little sluggish. Began to swim slowly to the side of the boat. Dave took the harpoon and swung at the target. After a successful hit, quickly get the tuna to the edge of the boat. Jody tied the rope skillfully. The 11th fish was successfully caught. Let the tuna cool down. They immediately pulled him aboard. The tuna was measured to be 2.5 meters long. They harvested another fish. Soon they returned to the port. Fishing time is getting tight. Let Dave expect the fish to be of good quality in order to earn more revenue. The fish weighed 333 pounds and 151 kilograms. But the fish doesn't look good. Adiposia, dullness, if not the core part, is slightly transparent. The fish is almost unsaleable. Rick offered only $9. Obviously, this fish is of very poor quality. Over 300 pounds of tuna. They earned only $2,997. Captain Paul of the Evil Pizza decided to call off the fishing trip. He was at sea for almost a day. Tired and sore, he had to return to Hong Kong. And looking for partners, Captain Marsha of the Hard Commodity decided to adjust your fishing strategy. Mackerel is no longer used as bait. Use a bucket full of squid instead. However, the skies suddenly fell with heavy rain and thunder. There's obviously no chance of another tuna bite tonight. Marsha also went to rest in peace. As the night sky lightened, Joe and Jason got up. They looked around at the fishing rods. Suddenly, there was movement in one of them. Why aren't your detectors responding? Joe quickly stepped forward to retrieve the line. The fishing rods lying idle around were also put away. Even now, it was drizzling outside, but it didn't have any effect on the operation. When Jason took over Joe's job, go all out at once, fighting to pull the tuna close to the boat. The fishing has been going on for an hour. Joe went into action again. Looks like Jason's previous efforts. It takes a lot of energy, but the results have been remarkable. The tuna is showing signs of exhaustion. They're only 18 meters away from victory. Joe stepped up his efforts again. Soon the tuna surfaced. Marsha quickly picked up the harpoon nearby. The tuna that punctures the bottom of the boat with precision. The tuna is contained behind the boat. Jason tied the rope around it. The voyage yielded another bumper harvest. It seems they were blessed with good fortune. When the tuna cools down, it took 3 men to pull it up to the deck. Measurements show the tuna to be 2 feet long. At this point, the captain of the Evil Pizza, Paul, still in port. No departure. The reason is that he managed to find a partner. And this is a familiar face. Lance, who was pissed off by Paul. The two are back together again. So Paul did change. Or Lance won't come back. The hard goods also arrived at the port. Start selling this 2.6-meter tuna. After the buyer receives the fish, eliminate unwanted areas quickly. The fish weighed 481 pounds, 218 kilograms. Good meat, rich local fat, and bright color. Although the core is a bit inferior. But overall, the tuna is of good quality. The market price can reach $16 a pound. That's $7,696 for the trio. When Taylor learned that 2 teams had caught fish, decided to adjust his fishing spot. They have been waiting here for nearly 2 days. Not a single tuna in sight. Still, he's a little attached to this place. I'm going to wait another hour. When Marissa woke up, the current fishing point was immediately replaced. Suddenly, the fishing line on the rod made a tiny sound, and the probe responded. You should change your equipment, Tyler. Every day is not ringing or slow response. When Tyler controls the fishing rod, Marissa got up from bed too. Stepped forwards to take over Taylor's job. Watch Marissa work hard. Tyler was standing in the cockpit. Maybe because the throttle at the back hasn't been fixed. Under Marissa's control, the tuna rose gradually for some distance. The fish is clearly showing signs of fatigue. Taylor stepped it up immediately after taking over. Hope to end this fight quickly. However, the strength of the fish's resistance gave him a headache. The moment I let go, I was met with such resistance. The good news is Taylor is skilled. Never let the tuna escape. Fishing time is over for an hour. The tuna starts to rise again. Looks like the fish's life is ending. Taylor picked up the harpoon next to him. Take aim at the fish's head and stab it down. After a hit, quickly control the fish and tie the rope. That's a big fish. Let the tuna cool. Together, the 2 men dragged the tuna onto the deck. The measurements showed the fish to be 2 meters long. Strange how big the fish looks. Why is it so much smaller? Back in port, they immediately landed the tuna. After excising the useless part, the tuna has a net weight of 295 pounds, 133 kilograms. Next comes the quality check of the fish. It looks like the fat is evenly distributed and beautifully shaped. The core looks translucent. Overall, this tuna is of good quality. The market estimate is up to $18. Apparently, this tuna is really good. They made a profit of $5,310. There are now 2 people on the Evil Pizza. Paul on board looked excited. Looks like Lance's return gave him a chance to make money. So much so that he now does everything with passion. While Paul was laying out the bait, the detector suddenly beeped. Looks like there's tuna out there. The movements in Paul's hands quickened. Once you set up all the decoys, he stood by and waited. As the line on the rod begins to go out, he quickly seized the opportunity. Lance was recycling his fishing line. It feels like this tuna has incredible power. Let the uncle who just returned be caught off guard. Even the tuna broke his line. Lance's mood fell. I didn't expect the first fish to run away like that. Paul, however, did not complain. He's obviously changed. He used to yell at people, but others remained skeptical. After all, as the saying goes, a fox may change its spots, but not its spots. Only time will tell now. Let's go back to the evil pizza. There's still a lot of excitement on board. Face the sound of the probe again. They excitedly began to prepare. When the fishing rod appears bent, the two men rush to the deck. Take on the tuna. Lance recovered a few coils of fishing line. Let the tuna continue to flee, intended to deplete its strength first. No more rush to reel in the line. It's a gradual, slow pull. The tuna seems to be approaching the surface. This caused excitement in both men, especially Uncle Lance. It's been a long time since we caught any tuna. An hour has passed since fishing time. The tuna is still struggling in the water, but it's not far from the surface. They just have to hold on a little longer. I can capture it. When the tuna surfaced, Paul quickly grabbed the spear nearby, stabbed the tuna unfortunately. The harpoon didn't go very far, and the fork slipped. Paul had to try again. While Lance helped control the tuna, Paul quickly picked up the rope and tied it tight. It's also the first fish they've caught this year. As they began their return voyage, the tuna is also cooling down. After pulling the fish into the boat, they took measurements immediately. The tuna was found to be 2 feet long. If the tuna is good enough, Paul may be able to recover some costs. After returning to port, started selling their own tuna. I'm curious about their fish. What kind of performance will it have? After all, Paul hasn't had much luck before. You could tell when he was fishing with Doug. Either the fish or the shark take the bait. The net weight of the fish was 445 pounds and 201 kilograms. The fish is brightly colored. Skin fat bands are also beautiful, but the core is of poor quality. It can only be purchased at $15 a pound. The total price is $6,675. Still, they make good money. With today's fishing over, the rivalry between Dave and Marsha is getting fiercer. Paul's got his fishing business up and running. Well, that's all for this program. Give it a thumbs up, and let's look forward to the next episode.